And now, the First Alert Storm Team, live from the 13 Now digital desk. This is Tropic Topics, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning and Mariana Toyota.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm News 13 meteorologist Kristen Kennedy here with an update on Ian. Remember, the historic Category 4 hurricane made landfall yesterday in southwest Florida, just to the west there of Cape Coral, with winds of 150 miles per hour. Now, earlier this morning, it was downgraded to a tropical storm with winds below the parameters there, around 73 miles per hour or less. As of the last check from the National Hurricane Center, this coming in just a few minutes ago, we still have tropical storm conditions with Ian. Its winds now at 70 miles per hour, so a little bit more strengthening ongoing since early this morning. It went from 65 miles per hour to around 70 miles per hour. The center of the storm is now emerging back into the Atlantic Ocean on the east side of Florida, where it is very slowly moving still to the north-northeast at just shy of 10 miles per hour and still producing very heavy rainfall in and around the east coast of Florida and even impacting still parts of central Florida. It will be moving off towards the north with now better potential to maintain and or continue strengthening. In fact, the National Hurricane Center is forecasting reemergence over the Atlantic and potential re-strengthening back to a Category 1 hurricane by this evening, in which case winds would be around 75 miles per hour. We're talking about a potential secondary United States landfall close to coastal South Carolina, in and around anywhere between Charleston and or Myrtle Beach area as a Category 1 storm by the mid-morning hours on Friday. That forward progression continuing in through the central portion of South Carolina and western Carolinas all the way up to the Midwest through the weekend, with further weakening expected the more and more it travels over land. So after redeveloping and starting to re-strengthen just a slight bit over the Atlantic and then pushing further inland through the weekend, it will be deteriorating and really becoming less and less of a threat the further inland it does become. However, it will lead to quite a bit of wet weather across some parts of the southeast over the next several days. And wet weather is something that has certainly been a big topic of discussion anywhere south of Jacksonville, Florida, experiencing flooding rainfall over the past 24 to 48 hours, with the most immense rainfall measured where the center of the storm traversed. So we're talking about south of Bradenton and around Sarasota, Sarasota Springs, Venice, Port Charlotte, all the way up through Orlando and even Daytona Beach, picking up between 10 and 20 inches of rain, with likely some isolated higher amounts within that very white section that does indicate the highest rainfall totals, where the eye wall continued to pass through and led to very strong winds as well. Right now, FUTURECAST doing a good job pinpointing where exactly the storm is located. Again, just emerging off towards the east over the Atlantic. You'll see a little bit of re-strengthening developing through the afternoon, early evening hours tonight. Still a lot of rain to come with this system, mainly on the northern half of the storm, but even some wraparound moisture on the backside set to bring in heavy rainfall through the east coast over the weekend. Stopping the FUTURECAST here at around 8 o'clock Saturday night, we could see rain as far south as the North Georgia mountains and as far north as parts of Connecticut and Massachusetts, as well as Pennsylvania, with those outer rain bands continuing to spin all the way up through New England. That will create not only a heavy rainfall threat to some of those areas, but also a threat for tropical spin-up tornadoes. That is right, that could be impacting up through the New England area over the weekend. So if you have friends and family in that area, just make sure you're checking in on them and letting them know also of what's coming their way. Now, the good news is Ian, as it makes its way further inland over the weekend, will be less strong, so it won't pack quite as much of a punch with the wind, and certainly not much of a storm surge factor to that forecast either. Now, here in the Panhandle, we thankfully have been pretty much spared from the storm system. The only impact really is the winds that at this time are out of the northeast at around 10 to 20 miles per hour. However, a little bit stronger in Blountstown, seeing them closer to 30-mile-per-hour winds sustained, meaning that's ongoing at that strength. However, gusts anywhere across northwest Florida could reach up to around 40 miles per hour today as well as tomorrow. So again, the impacts for the Panhandle, the wind will be breezy again for your Thursday as well as Friday. Most of us will see the stronger winds along the coastline, but could see them inland as well. So just a matter of fact of how fast that air is rushing down south, not only from Ian, but there's also a ridge of high pressure to our north, and there's a bit of a pressure gradient which is causing winds to increase across specifically the Panhandle, central Georgia, and the Carolinas for the next couple of days. Dew points are in the 40s, and doesn't look like we have any 50s or 30s, but generally dew points in the 40s indicate really dry air making its way in through the area. Certainly not a lot of moisture, again with winds out of the northeast. That does not look to be a big factor to the forecast. That moisture at least. However, the dry air does create some dangerous conditions, especially when you combine it with very strong winds, as we are already seeing. In fact, our relative humidity, again, which is essentially a measure of the moisture in the atmosphere, is going to be running a little bit on the more slim side, which creates a higher threat for fire danger. When you can see some of that orange showing up on the map, a medium to high threat of fire danger weather, indicating that yes, dry air is present. Yes, the winds are still pretty breezy, and unfortunately anyone who does choose to burn anything outdoors could be susceptible to a wildfire that spreads immensely quick, and we do not need that here in the Panhandle. We already experienced it a bit earlier this month, and that was traumatic as a starting point. And keep in mind, we also have a lot of first responders from our area who have gone down south to help with Southwest Florida recovery efforts. Not to say that we don't have enough people to help out if something did happen here in the Panhandle, but just another factor to that forecast, another thing to be very much so cautious of over the next couple of days. Please do not burn anything outside, and if you do absolutely have to, make sure you have plenty of water on standby to completely put out any spark or flame. Quick wrap up here as we continue with your Tropic Topics update here to the Panhandle. Again, not many impacts coming. It's a wildfire threat at this point with the strong winds and dry air. We're all not impacting us with any rainfall. Rain has been taken out of the forecast from what's left of Ian. We're not going to get any of that moisture here. There's a little bit of surge in and around the Forgotten Coast. Actually, what's ongoing is some reverse surge, and we've seen that already in Tampa, and the opposite of what's happening and what had happened in Fort Myers yesterday. Instead of surge going onto the land and the water pushing to the land, because we've had winds out of the northeast for several days now, but really increasing in speed yesterday, today, and tomorrow, it's actually causing some of the water to recede. So along the Apalachicola locations, along the Forgotten Coast especially, you're probably noticing the water levels a good bit lower than they usually are. That is actually what's ongoing. It's called reverse surge, and we're going to have more details on that impact to our area here in the Panhandle coming up later on News 13, I believe, this evening. So stay tuned for more details on that. But certainly a dangerous boating and beach forecast in store today through possibly Saturday. Regardless of whether or not you're seeing red flags or double red flags, we do want to urge you to stay out of and off of the water because it is very rough out there. The beaches themselves may not look bad to the eye, especially if you're looking at a live webcam, but it is very windy. The sand is being blasted, and there is also a very strong pull in the water, which is leading to a higher rip current risk, which means if you do enter and you go past your knee length, you could be sucked out very quickly, putting your life at risk as well as the lives of our first responders. So be extra cautious in and around the water. And again, it's probably best for you and everyone involved if you just stay out of and off of the water until we head to the weekend, when we will have drier conditions in store and also less windy conditions, which will really help with our beach and boating forecast. Again, by Sunday, we're expecting the winds to drop back to normal around 5 to 10 miles per hour. In the meantime, today, tomorrow, and even through Saturday, it is going to be breezy to windy. Winds will be around 15 miles per hour on Saturday out of the northeast, and then calming by Sunday. Notice temperatures very fall-like. Afternoon highs are set to be in the low 80s for our coastal locations through next Wednesday, with morning lows in the low 60s, so feeling a little bit more refreshing. Further inland, not much of a difference there. there. A little bit warmer in the afternoon, and in the morning hours, just a little bit cooler with highs and lows in the middle 80s, as well as morning lows in those middle to upper 50s and low 60s. But the 7-day forecast does not feature a whole lot of rainfall coming anytime soon. We're in a little bit more of a dry streak here. We don't have really any major weather systems impacting us right now. Just a little bit of a gnat there flying around. It's landed on my face. Okay, well, that's just about it for us here with our Tropic Topics discussion. Again, we're very happy that the system did not impact us, but remember how much help everyone did send down with Hurricane Michael, and hopefully we can help our neighbors and our friends down south as well. And of course, we'll have more information throughout the day and the next coming days, as well as weeks, with recovery efforts on our website. That's mypanhandle.com. And you can also get the news on the go with our 13 Now news app for your mobile devices, and anything weather related, you can find that on the Storm Track 13 app. Great for your personal forecast. That 7-day forecast updated by us every single day. Your hourly forecast, any tropical updates. You can even watch our newscast live, all from your mobile device in your pocket. So definitely be sure to download that as well.
Thank you for watching Tropic Topics, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning and Marietta Toyota. Be sure to download the Storm Track 13 app today to stay up to date with all of the latest weather information. For more local news, weather, sports, and more, visit mypanhandle.com.